there are a lot of things we can dive in. Marc Jackson's opinion on, and there's a lot. But the first thing, as we welcome him to the Boardwalk Honda Hotline, Sixers pre- and post-game analyst, NBC Philadelphia. Marc, welcome back. And, you know, obviously when you lose a game, there's a lot to pick on here. But Brent Brown said in Game 2 of the Nets series that they didn't make a lot of adjustments. They just did what they did better. Is that something that applies here, or do they need to do things different?
I truly believe to talk to you about this is I think they got to do things differently. Just from the sake of, so you mean to tell me if Kawhi Leonard and Siakam get hot again, you just keep playing them one-on-one. You won't make no adjustments and maybe send a different look at them or maybe double team them every now and then. I think that may be a little understatement. I think they would make an adjustment if the second game starts off like the first game.
Yeah, you know, let me ask you about this, because a lot of people wonder, like, okay, you're watching this game, and here's Kawhi Leonard, and he's one-on-one, and he's shooting, and he's hitting at a high percentage. Is it difficult in the middle of a game to make that adjustment? Like, why in a game do we say, why not throw two in the middle of it? Why does it take, well, let's watch Game 1, see what we did wrong, and make the adjustment for Game 2?
Because sometimes if a guy's really hot like Kawhi was, sometimes you say, there's no way he's going to keep this up for two halves. And that's why I think the 76ers kind of got led astray. But they say, there's no way this guy's going to keep this up for two halves, but he did. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why wasn't no adjustment done in the middle, because sometimes you bank on, there's no way this team's going to shoot like this the whole game. So I think that's why sometimes teams wait to see how the game plays out before they make an adjustment.
Marc Jackson, is it wrong of me to think that the biggest problem in this series isn't Leonard, it's not Siakam, but Marc Gasol could be the boogeyman that could bring this series down?
Yes, that's a very accurate statement. That could happen. You know, because Marc Gasol traditionally has played Embiid very well. Even though Joel in the previous game this year versus Marc Gasol before this game had spent a lot of time at the free throw line, but his shooting percentage has been way under par. So Marc Gasol is a good pickup and a smart pickup, because me personally, when they picked him up, I was like, this may be a downgrade defensively from Valanciunas, because Valanciunas, to me, seemed to give Joel all he can handle.
Yeah.
But then as I look back and see the stats and statistics, Marc Gasol guards Joel very well, Marc Gasol guards Joel very well as he can pick and pop and spread the floor on the other end.
The pick and pop was a big problem when they went to Boban, too. I mean, they seem to exploit Boban with that pick and pop a lot, because as soon as Boban sags, he can't get back out there, and that's when Gasol hit his 2 threes.
Well, yes, that's when Gasol gets his 2 threes, but that's just not Boban, that's Joel, too.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of similarity for how those two guys guard. Are they very good players? Yes. Are they game changers? Yes. Meaning Boban and them with the second unit, giving them 10, 15 minutes and being productive. But, you know, sometimes people like he can exploit the mismatch. He can say, okay, I might can't get out to that 3, but if you're hitting, okay, I'm in trouble. But if you're not hitting, you have to guard me on the other end. So that's how Boban can be effective in spurts of the game. But Joel on that, who's going to play 35 to 40 minutes a game, it seems to be spread out a little more, even though Joel, of course, is much more athletic and agile, but he still gets caught up in the same defensive schemes when playing against other teams.
We're talking with Marc Jackson, Sixers pre- and post-game. You can watch him tonight on NBC Philadelphia. People forget also, Marc, Leonard, Defensive Player of the Year, Gasol, Defensive Player of the Year, but Danny Green, Serge Ibaka, these are all guys who have been, all defensive team guys. I mean, they might not be defensive players of the year, but this team really defensively, and this has been the problem when the Sixers have played this team the last couple of times, the level of intensity they bring on defense, it's tough to match that, and the Sixers really seem like they let it get to them early in this game, and we're constantly playing from behind because of it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and this not – okay, a lot of people can play defense. But imagine if you can play defense and you got a long wingspan and you're very tall. So you add that with the already defensive prowess of Toronto, the list of their defenders makes it double as hard because Jimmy Butler is not a small statue guy. Tobias Harris is not a small statue guy. You're 6'10" point guard. There you go. But when you're playing against people at 6'9", 6'10", 6'11 on the other side, it adds up and it wears on you. So you match that also with Toronto's athleticism and speed, and it's a hard match for anybody.
Yeah, a lot of times you saw Jimmy that when they would switch, a lot of times on a switch he has that little gap of room that he could pull up on you, but not against Toronto because the length of their defenders is there, and he didn't have enough separation or space to get shots up. Jimmy Butler, how did they change his role in game number 2 and get him going? He didn't seem defensively to really be engaged, and he really had a tough night offensively.
Yeah, but you know what? I give credit to Toronto on Jimmy because here's the question. I'm going to throw the question back at you.
Yep.
If you haven't made adjustments for a guy since he's been with you and you've been living with him only taking 8, 9 shots, now you want to say, okay, let's try to get you more shots now. Well, now you want to give him some more shots. So Coach Chaney's told me if you want to use a guy late, you got to get him off early. And if you just run in sets, to equal opportunity for any and everybody who touches the ball, how can you expect him to give you something late? So that's the thing with me, Jimmy has to change. They got to get him established early, run someplace to him. Don't say, okay, Jimmy, we know whenever you touch the ball, if you get a shot, go ahead. If not, pass it, stand out the way. No. Jimmy is a very good scorer, has showed for years he's a very good scorer. So why not run a play for him to get him going early so you can use him late?
Ben Simmons, 7 of 8, 14 points, 9 rebounds, 34 minutes. Yet it didn't seem like he was a major part of the game. He had his moments. He didn't seem like he was totally disconnected like we've seen him against Toronto. But you're going to need a better Ben than that, right?
Of course. And remember this, too. Some people's scoring is more important than other people's scoring, which means, yes, Ben played very good as far as percentage-wise with his shooting, 7-9, I think you just said. But keep this in mind.
7 of 8.
Ben, 7 of 8. So keep this in mind, in my opinion only. Ben Simmons is a 6'10" point guard. I think he can get going whenever he chooses to get going because he's the primary ball handler. So with that being said, the other guys who are not the primary ball handlers, I think they need to make sure that those guys get going and make sure those guys are always in a sequence of the play offensively because I think that will add up later.
Marc Jackson's with us. So if you're Brent Brown and you watch that tape, what do you do differently tonight?
First, I think you go at Kawhi. Kawhi gets going. First of all, you try to keep Ben Simmons on Kawhi as long as possible, for as long as possession as possible. That's the first thing. 2, unfortunately, this is the NBA, so that means Toronto got some very good players. So if you see a guy getting going early, you might want to throw some extra looks at him and not letting them go one-on-one. So I think that's the first thing. And here's the big thing. Now, hopefully me and Coach debate on this tonight, but here's the other thing. I know Joel Embiid is a master of all trades, right? He can score from outside. He can take off the dribble. But how not be the jack of all trades and be the master of one? Joel's the biggest, baddest guy in this series. How about run some cross screens and simplify the game so Joel gets that ball with deeper position in the box instead of getting the ball at the three-point line and trying to work big Marc Gasol down to the low post area. That's another adjustment I would like to see made.
Yeah, I brought that point up before you came on. It was that he kept catching the ball away from the basket, and Gasol was like, hey, take that shot, big man, because my hand is going to be right in your face. When he pulls up against other teams, that big man is not quite as big as him, and he could shoot up over them.
And then the other thing is, with Joel catching out that far, yes, that's fine. Go ahead, you got it. Now take me one-on-one. That's relying on more energy for Joel. Joel is a big-bodied guy, and we know he's so skilled. But the biggest thing that Joel does well for the Sixers is his ability to change shots on the defensive end. So Joel plays as hard as he can on the defensive end, which he always does, and he's out there changing shots, running around the floor like he reminds me of a big man version of Dwayne Wade, the way he sacrifices his body for the love of the game. So if that's the case, right, how about make the game a little easier so he's expending less energy on the offensive end, having to work guys out from the three-point line, having to show guys, okay, now let me go and give you a wiggle move. That means a one-on move from the wing. How about let's simplify the game a little bit better for the big guy in game 2 so he's expending less energy this time on offense so he can help you more on defense.
One other thing I want to get your opinion on. I watched Golden State the other night, and they don't go to the bench, my man. They're playing 40 minutes. Is this the kind of series where the Sixers just have to say, you guys need to suck it up? I mean, you got Bolden and Korkmaz combining for 25 minutes. I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but if I can get those guys off the floor for 25 minutes and I say, hey, Butler, Redick, you guys got to play more. I mean, is that something you'd like to see? Less shorten the bench and less of it?
I would like to see that. I do. Because we always remember how the 76ers has one of the best starting 5 units in the entire NBA. So, yes, if that's the case, why not leave them on the floor for 30, 40 minutes a game? How about that?
Yeah.
I would like to see that. I would really like to see that.
Mark, I know growing up, you could probably ask Jimmy Lynam this because I think he was the coach. When I grew up, I remember 6 Sixers. It was Dawkins, Hawkins, Jaminski, Mahorn, Barkley, and Ron Anderson got some rub. Other than that, I don't think one guy ever took his warm-up off.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
What's wrong with that? And what was wrong with that? Nothing at all. It helps give you wins. Your best players need to play. That's why they get paid the bucks.
That's right, man. And I see the Warriors, those guys out there playing 40-plus minutes. At this time of the year, these guys got to get out there because I'll follow up. You got Korkmaz playing 12 minutes, going 1 for 6. You got Bolden going 1 for 6. Those guys took 12 shots for you the other night. You can't have that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Now, I was a rotation guy in the NBA, so if I was in the NBA right now, my role would be similar to what Boban is or that role.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest. It's just this is the truth. If I'm in this situation and I'm not giving the team something that they really need, I'm looking at Coach like, Coach, leave them all in there for 40 minutes. Don't put me in the game. That's just the fact. That's just the fact.
Well, right, and
leave them in there.
Your role, you hustled, you were grabbing rebounds, hitting elbow jumpers. That part of the game is essentially gone right now. These guys are being asked to do a heck of a lot more different things than what you had to come in and provide off the bench.
Oh, that's how we throwing shade now. Oh, okay. Well, let me establish this. What I did is more than you and most of your listeners have ever done in the NBA. So please don't assault my role and what we did. So secondly, to answer that, my role is I had 3-point range, but I didn't shoot the 3. This time, Bolden. To me, Bolden, do not forget about Bolden. I'm not talking about now, but to me, Bolden is going to be the future. He's going to have a future in his game. Hopefully it's with the 76ers, but he's going to have a future. So my thing is this. James Ennis. What is James Ennis? James Ennis is for a rumbler, a 3-point shooter and defender. So pretty much that was my role.
Yeah. But
I was just sitting from a big man point of view. So every role is different, but every role is important as long as they add up to wins. Boban is not a 3-point shooter, but you mean that some of the Sixers had them wins that they had with all his production coming off the bench?
Oh, he was big in that. He was big in that first round, and we're seeing if he can possibly bring that role. Now, winning in Toronto, not easy. Let me ask you about this. Getting Kawhi Leonard, it changed their whole mentality, did it not? The whole franchise's mentality is different now.
Well, Toronto, you're saying?
Yeah, Toronto.
Yeah, yes, it is. But you know what, though? I don't know. Did it change, or did it just change personnel? Because I really believe that the way they play is a little bit different. Because I think Kawhi is still getting the shots that DeRozan had last year. But the biggest difference is he can do it more effectively.
Yeah, he's better than DeRozan.
So he's better than DeRozan. So I think he's changed, and I think Siakam's maturation has been incredible. And here's my thing, and here's why I'm mad at Siakam. And I'm not mad at a lot of people, but I'm mad at Siakam. He could have waited till next year. He doesn't have to do that now. He about to play against the Sixers. He don't got to be looking good now. I mean, come on now. You ain't have to do that now. He could have waited. He had to do it against my hometown.
Right? I mean, yeah, you've been on him all year long. We've talked a lot about them. You've liked him a lot. And I said earlier before the series, that kid is a difference maker, and he is their number 2 player. The reason why I think people believe in them now is because they got Leonard, but Lowry is not the second guy. He's the third guy now.
And you know what, though? To be honest, I think for their success, I think that's what it has to be. I think that because
Siakam I agree with you.
Siakam is not just a young guy who's playing well. He's a young guy who's just turned into a superstar right before our eyes.
You know what's going to happen, Mark? They're going to start sending scouts to that Cameroon and just grabbing anybody 6'8" and taller and bringing them over here, whether they can walk and chew gum or not.
But you know what? That's why the NBA did what they're doing. They started that league over there to get those guys early. Yep.
All right, man. Hey, by the way, you were a tremendous player in this league. I loved your hustle, and I would love to have seen you stretch out and shoot the three now that you're telling me that you shoot the three.
Yeah, Jim O'Brien wanted me to. Jim was like, Mark, start shooting three. I was like, no, Coach, I wasn't brought up that way. He's like, shut up and shoot it. I'm like, no, Coach. So there you go. The only time I defied a coach, first of all, was one of my favorite coaches of all time, was Jim O'Brien. Jim O'Brien was trying to get me to shoot the three the years I was with him, and I was like, no, I don't know if I should. So, but I'm happy with my role. I'm happy with the success I had, and I love what an opportunity I get to do what I do now because of that.
Well, we enjoyed listening to you and having you here. And, of course, tonight, Game 2, see if the Sixers can steal one. They've lost 12 straight in Toronto against the Raptors. Marc Jackson, everybody, at Jacko2544 on Twitter. All right, my friend, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.